got his last name. But yeah, I guess that's about it for now.
He's like Kobe. He only needs one name, bro. My name is Stephen Bishop, and I play Marcus in One Night Stay, the husband of Malia, who is Latoya Luckett, who unfortunately is not with us today, but as always, she is with us in spirit. So, and I'm very happy to be here as well.
Well, we are super happy to have you guys. First thing I want to talk about is the film. Oh my goodness. The plot twist, the tension, the drama. It was juicy. It was so juicy. And I love film. I love that we are finally getting to a place where we are no longer seen as monolithic and have to do films in just one way, shape, or form, and we're able to really branch out. So talk to me about what it felt like to do a thriller. I don't know if you watched them in your own personal space. I've always been a thriller person, whereas I don't like horror. I like to make it, and having made a few, now I'm less afraid to watch it. But talk to me about what it feels like to make a thriller, because that's, as an actor, that's got to be, you know, a little bit of a mind bend, being that your character can't know what's going on, but you do.
Well, for me, yeah, Marcus was kind of the straight guy throughout this, so he wasn't too involved with the thriller aspect of it until at the end when he was involved. He was just kind of living, and the thriller part was going on around him, unbeknownst to him. You know, he started getting wind of some weird things happening, but he was, you know, he still was just kind of oblivious to what those things were about, and he just was living his life. My co-stars, however, were highly involved in the treachery that led to this thriller. And so for that, I will let the treacherous ones.
So talk, Iyanna, as the catalyst for all the drama, you were the cause and the cure, right? How was that for you?
It definitely was exciting. I like playing the bad guy or the bad girl. And again, the plot twist was super dope. I don't think anybody would have ever guessed that. So I didn't want to like play it to where people can really guess what was going on. I wanted for it to, you know, of course, like play as like what's happening, what's going on. So yeah, it was cool.
I was like, so she's just gonna live in the closet.
Right. That's what when I read the script, I'm like, oh, Jessica is real different. Okay, but I like it. I like
That's
it.
it's a big closet. That's as big as some studio apartments in New York. Come on now.
Well, the house was ginormous, so that worked. But I was like, so she's just gonna get some snacks and live in the closet. Okay.
She was drawing on the wall, and she made it home for sure. Jessica, yeah, that was her little home.
I was like, okay, it's her own little shanty town. All right. Now, Robert, you were. Yeah. I was so fooled until the end.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was the goal. Now, I had a lot of fun like everybody else. As many of you probably know, I play a lot of good guys, a lot of wholesome guys. In Dynasty, which was my last show, someone referred to me as the Jesus character on the show because I was always solving everybody's problems altruistically. But no, it was fun to be. Bad guys tend to be a little bit more interesting. And if you haven't seen the movie, you will find out that Dre is not exactly who he seems and not who he presents himself as. And for those of you who have seen the movie, I mean, it was pretty fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Marcus was exactly who he seems.
Very true.
Well, you know, Marcus was the trip. Marcus was the trip because he was so, besides being a womanizer, he was so intentionally aloof. Like, he was just like, nah, babe, we good. Like, old girl was a little aggressive the next morning. And it was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go back to being married. I was like, oh, that's a line. Because when did you stop?
Well, at the moment of, at the bar when they get together, the ring's off and from that point until the point where he says, well, it's time for me to go back to being married. This was a nice little fantasy and escape for both of us, but I do have a life here, as you can see.
So fucked up.
It was. I was like, oh, Latoya, her character she wasn't the nicest either. But
No.
so we're talking about thriller and the tension and the anxiety. How, for the actors in the room, how challenging is it to, like I said, make sure your character knows nothing but know everything? Because I know, like, for Stephen, your character was a straight guy. You knew nothing that was going on. So oftentimes as actors, we know that we can't judge our characters, but we also can't give the show away or give the plots away as the actor for the character. So how challenging was that for you as you like watch the melee go around you in shooting?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really challenging for me because I know that I can't let on that I know what's going on. You know what I mean? So that really never crosses my mind or comes into my character, because I know that, I mean, I know that going in.
Mm-hmm.
So the job is just to play it as real as possible so that you give no clues or foresight into what's happening. You make sure that the character is, like I said earlier, completely oblivious and just living their life without any, you know, I guess the challenge is to never allow your knowledge of of what's going on around you to seep into your choices. It's, you know, you just live what's on the page, live it like you're just living a normal, and you're shooting a normal everyday drama, you know, just a life of two married people who are having their issues, and make that as real as possible. And that will carry you past wanting to, or being tempted to let on to the audience that there's something else afoot.
Right. How was it for you, Iyanna?
Yeah, pretty much the same too. And like you said, just making sure not to judge the character, because I feel like Jessica absolutely had, you know, a lot of ways. Even though I feel like it's a little bit of Jessica in everyone, she's very different from Iyanna. So making sure like I find the similarities, and okay, I wouldn't do that, but I can understand why Jessica would, and just making sure not to judge, playing it as real as can be, and not trying to, you know, have people guess too much.
Mm-hmm.
Iyanna, let me ask you something, because I just had a thought occur to me. You are the thriller. So you know what's going on. Your character knows what's happening. You're living in our house. You know what's going on. So did you have to, well, I'm not the interviewer here, but
this is a super open conversation, and we're always open for everybody to jump right in. So go for it.
So do you, in that case, do you put more on your character to make her more, I guess, menacing or creepy? Because you, as the character, you know you're being creepy, and there's no doubt in Jessica's mind that there is no surprise here. She knows everything.
Yeah, but I also think Jessica doesn't know what's going to happen, because everything, like, for example, I don't think Jessica knows that this new woman is going to come into the house and try to mess with Marcus's character, which is Essence Atkins. So it's like all of these events, it comes to her, and it like, I don't know how to explain it. I get what you're asking, but yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
It's weird, right? Because I have, like, we have to act like I said, I have no idea what's going on. You're gone. Only thing I know is that I'm being shown a picture of you, and a couple days later, like, oh, and I'm like, oh wow, no, I haven't seen her. But other than that, I don't know that you're there. I don't know that without giving anything away, I don't know the background. You know what I mean? But it's weird because you actually know. So that it's a different.
And I think Jessica, she's definitely like a little bit delusional in a way too. So it's like in her mind, oh, maybe we'll be together. Oh, well, he's not going to have any other women. So everything that Marcus does, it like triggers her even more to act even act out even more, I guess. But at the moment, I don't think Jessica knew, like, oh, even like with not to spoil it, but even with like killing Marcus, that was never really Jessica's plan. As you know, her and Dre talked about, like, this was never supposed to happen. So she's just like spiraling throughout the movie, pretty much.
The funny thing is, to me, it's not even like she knows, like, because in the beginning, like, I'm like, sis don't think there's nothing wrong with what she's doing. Like she totally feels like, I'm gonna just hang out here till this girl is away, is gone. I'm gonna get rid of her, and then we're just gonna live happily ever. Because not often does offs know it's all. So I feel like possibly she's just like, I'm just doing what she's doing has to be done in her little mind. But you did all the doing, girl. You did all the doing.
And it goes left still, but again, none of this was like Jessica's plan.
I mean, it's so left. It's
way
so
left.
left. So while we talk, there are going to be questions that pop up in the chat. I'll address one of them now since we're talking about character work. Kazina is asking, she's curious to know, how did each of you get into acting and what inspired you to go after your dream?
Well, for me,
go ahead.
For me, I've always just like been super creative and had this like lived in a world of imagination. So something I always wanted to do. Also, like my parents are in the industry, so I would see like, oh, this is cool. Let me see if it'll work out for me. And then I started doing it, and it turned out to be pretty great. But I just love telling stories and making them as like relatable as possible. Like I'm definitely the friend that's like lives in this fantasy world. So like this career works perfectly for me.
I'll make it as quick as possible. I started in college. I went to college to be a football player and an accountant. I went to a predominantly white institution of education, Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which was 93% white at the time. In my sophomore year, in my second semester, freshman year, I was taking an intro to acting class. And they were doing a production of A Raisin in the Sun at the school. They needed more Black actors. They asked me to audition. I said no 9 times. The 10th time, I said yes. And then I had a call back. I didn't know what that was. I didn't understand why they wanted me to do it again. So I went back the next day and I did it again. And they said, your name will be on the board if you're in the show. And I went and I checked the board, and my name was next to Walter Lee Younger. And I went into my teacher, who then became my mentor, Cassie Johnson's office, and told her she was making a terrible mistake because I was 18 years old and I didn't know how to play a 35-year-old with a child. And I don't know how I was going to memorize all these lines. And she told me that I was better than I thought I was. And 2 degrees later and a couple Broadway shows under my belt, here I am. So you never know how you're going to come about it.
Nice.
Tough
What
to
about you,
follow.
Steven?
Tough to follow that.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, professional baseball player. No, it isn't.
Much like Rob, I was an athlete and went to college on a scholarship to play baseball. And while I was in college, I took a drama course. And much like Rob, my professor was very kind and said, you know, you're pretty good at this. You might want to consider doing this for a living. And I was like, bro, I'm going to be a pro baseball player. What are you talking about? That's absurd. And he was like, no, just, you know, keep it in your back pocket. You never know what can happen. You know, it's just, you know, something to do maybe after baseball. And when he said that, it brought me back to my childhood where I, you know, although I have half brothers and sisters, I grew up as my mother's only child. So I spent a lot of time alone. And when you spend a lot of time alone as a child, you talk to yourself quite a bit and you play both sides of conversations and you have an imagination, like Iyanna said. And, you know, I was always a performer. I would memorize stand-up comedy routines and perform them for my parents at their dinner parties and stuff like that. And so I had that in me. And when the guy said, keep it in mind, I was like, well, you know, you're right. Maybe after baseball, this is something that I could do. And when baseball ended sooner than I wanted it to, because, you know, professional athletes, especially baseball players, where you have 4 or 5 levels of minor league baseball before you get to the real money, it's a weeding out process. And when I was released by the Baltimore Orioles, I was sitting in my apartment and contemplating what I wanted to do, and I just made a snap decision that it was time to go to that plan. So I packed up all my stuff, I rented a car and drove to LA and crashed on one of my college buddies' couches. And as Rob said, a few shows and movies later, here we are.
Nice. I love that all of you kind of found your way to it. And that you gave it, you decided, okay, I'm gonna try. I think that's something that we really talk to our members about when we talk to just all of our creatives, actives, directors. Like, it's about trying. If this is what you really think you want to do and it's a pursuit, then you got to go for it, and it's not going to happen overnight. I'm quite sure that there was a lot of time, or maybe there wasn't, but there was some time between driving in that car and getting on the couch and then getting a show. I'm sure
there was a lot of time between that, but I will say I started in the commercial world. And fortunately, I had a friend who was here living in LA that was already doing the modeling thing that I knew from where I grew up. And she took me into her agent and set up a meeting for me. She took me in, I had my meeting, and they signed me that right there.
Nice.
And I think I booked my second audition for a commercial, which was Nivea for men, where, shaving cream stuff, where I had to have my face in a freezer, like I was trying to cool off my skin after shaving. So from there, I booked a national commercial just about every year. That's while I was waiting for other things to happen. And then I booked an independent film and, got my feet wet doing that. And then Bold and the Beautiful, got more, experience on a professional set where they were already on the air. And then Mara Brock Akil found me for Girlfriends to play Alex Mendoza. And so it was very slow, but it was steady for the first several years. And then I met Peter Berg, who really jump-started my career. He gave me my first studio film, which was The Rundown with Dwayne Johnson, Rosario Dawson, Christopher Walken. And then from there, Friday Night Lights and The Kingdom and Hancock, and really gave me a really solid platform and a really solid base for a career to start. So it took a while, but there was steady work for me. So I was always able to make my living for the most part doing this. I didn't have to go 10 bar or anything like that. I was very, very fortunate in that.
Yes, you are lucky, because baby, I have definitely asked, would you like some more water? Several times. But for our members and our viewers, he said something really key. His friend was already doing it and came and gave him a hand. At BTFC, our hashtag is #MakeYourWork. And we're always talking about helping each other make our work. And so your tribe is important, right? Like, who you have, once you decide, like, the universe will honor decision. And when you decide, I'm going to go after this thing, whatever this thing is for you, you go for it. But you also need community. I know, Iyanna, speaking of other shows and work that you've done, I know you've done Abbott Elementary. I know that you've done, you was running around the jungle with Idris. Whew. Who Sabrina posted today. Sabrina posted all of our, and I love her because she wrote the hashtag Our Husband.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, baby, she know. She know. But what was the moment where you were like, okay, this is real? Like, Abbott is a great show. It's done really well. Everybody don't get to run around the jungle with Idris. Like, what was the moment? What was the project for you that was like, this is real, I'm doing this thing?
I think it was this HBO show that I did called Room 104. But the reason why I love that, I loved all of my projects, by the way, but like for that one, it's like I was #1 on the call sheet. I was literally like the star of the whole episode, and it wasn't many people in the episode. But I was like, oh, like somebody's trusting me to actually like lead a whole TV show. I'm not just, one of the supporting characters. So that was probably my first time. And then after that, like was booking more and I was working hard. And then even to go back to Beast, Will Packer, he gave me the chance to play like one of the leads, go to South Africa and film like this dope movie starring alongside these dope people. And I'm like, okay, I'm really doing this. So yeah.
Nice. What about you, Rob? What was that moment that was like, I'm here? We know that there's no there, right? Like I made it there, but like, all right, I'm in this thing.
For me, it was my first Broadway production. I understudied Terrence Howard on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in 2008. With Felicia Rashad, James Earl Jones, Terrence Howard, Anika Noni Rose, Giancarlo Esposito, Lou Myers, directed by Debbie Allen.
I saw that.
So then, funny thing happened. Terrence had to go do press for Iron Man, and I was promised that I would fill in for Terrence if he only had to go for a certain number of weeks and not for a lot of weeks. So he did just 2 weeks, but they brought in Boris Kajot anyway, and I was very distraught. And just so happened Terrence came back and he got injured. So I did 3 weeks of the show, and I was opposite James Earl Jones, and we got a standing ovation every night that I went on. But after the first performance, James Earl Jones asked me if I would come in early so we could go over what happened the night before. And I was like, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, I will come in and talk to James Earl Jones about whatever you want. And during that time, we had a crack up laughing session on stage because theater's live, and I did something that made him die laughing, and he told me in one of our private meetings that I taught him something about his character that he hadn't realized. And then I was like, all right, I guess I'm good enough to be here. I guess I'm good enough to be here. I'm standing with all these titans. During my audition, Debbie Allen said, "You're a fine young actor." And I had the flu and was focused running off 2 5-hour energies and a Red Bull. And I was like, "Thank you. Can I go now?" And that's serious. She'll tell you that if she remembers. Peter Wise was the casting director. And when your heroes validate you, Terrence and I became good friends on that project. When your heroes validate you, it puts a battery in your back like none other. When your contemporaries validate you, that's another battery in your back. I've got stories about that on this movie and other projects I've worked on. So, but it was Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. The posters on my wall, the playbills that's signed is over there. You need something to plant a flagpole in to remind yourself that you arrived and that you can do this business. You can work in this business for a long time. So
I love that. Well, tell me, because you said a lot of key things. Just that moment when you tell yourself, like the external validation, especially by your heroes and sheroes in the business, is great. But when you validate yourself, when you are like, I got this, I can do this. There's a different energy, and I feel like that also makes you look at the prospective work differently. You look at your options a little more like, I can say yes or I can say no. What with that said, what was it that attracted you to the role here in One Night Stay?
Well, the people that were attached, I had worked with LaToya before. I was coming off the heels of another movie with the producers of this, Worldwide Entertainment Media, Pierre and Julie,
well, we're in
Summer and Tony.
We're not together, but
yeah, well, exactly. So, and then the opportunity to work with Steven and MC Lights in the movie, and Essence is in it. So that intrigued me a lot. It attracted me to the role. And again, the fact that I got to play a bad guy, which is not something I normally play, was exciting. And the movie that we were in together was the exact opposite of it. I was the nicest guy ever. So this was a great departure from that. So all those things factored in.
What attracted you to it, Iyanna? Was
The
it
storyline?
bad guy too?
The storyline, the plot twist for sure, and it's different from I think like all of my roles. Yeah, I'm usually like someone's daughter is super sweet or something else. I got to play. It was just different, yeah. So I loved it.
It's always fun to be against type.
Absolutely.
And Steven, what attracted you to the role, but also you came in on the business side of it too. Like, so if you can share a little bit about that, because we do have a lot of members who are producing aspiring EPs or funding their stuff, their friends' things. So, a little bit about that would be cool.
Well, honestly, I last year got on a little bit of a fortunate run where I was being offered number one on the call sheet roles, like Iyanna said about. I mean, that's a huge milestone in any actor's career. And this was one of those. They came to me before they had the money and asked me if I would like to lead it. And, at the time I was about to do my very first number one, and this was number two. So I was kind of trying to collect those types of credits. So that's what attracted me to it. It was, an opportunity to lead a cast, and I liked the story, and I liked Marcus. I knew him very well, so it just seemed to fit. It seemed to fit really well. And as far as the business side, when you get to a certain place in your career as an actor, you're able to request certain things in order to make your deal happen. And when you're trying to build a career in this business, producers are very, very influential and very powerful people. And as I started getting more and more entrenched as an actor, I started trying to collect credits as an executive producer, so that I can, when I take something into a room and I say, hey, listen, I want to produce this, they can look at a resume that's got several executive producer credits on it, and they say, oh, you produced that, you produced that. This one I was really proud of because I actually was more involved as a producer than just in name. You know what I mean? A lot of times you'll get a producer credit and it'll just be your name there, and you didn't really do anything other than say yes to the role and request the credit. But this one, I tried to help out on set, when things went wrong. Because I was there a lot of the times where I wasn't working for hours. And so I would be watching Video Village. I would be making sure that certain takes were going properly. I was making sure that Crafty was taken care of. And, I just was trying to actually see what a producer really does and play my role in it. You know what I mean? So that's how that happened. It was one of those things where I requested the credit because I wanted to collect the credits for my resume, but I also was very fortunate that I was able to participate as a producer as well. So that's pretty much how that happened.
Well, if my 2 cents is worth anything, you're a damn good one. So there's that part.
Nice. I love it. The camaraderie. I'm here for that part.
Oh yeah, me and Rob, we got a bromance going.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Mutual respect and appreciation.
When we met, we've told this story several times, but when we met, we had our first scene, and that was the first time we had met. We both knew who each other were, though, because we watched each other on. I'm sure he was watching on Being Mary Jane when I was watching him on the. And so I was like, okay, cool. I get to work with this dude, and then we did our first rehearsal take. And we cut, and I walked over to him, and I was like, bro, we're about to have a lot of fun. I can tell that I am now working opposite a peer and excuse me, and an equal, where we can really, really dig into this together and create magic on this. And some of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene in the film is the one with me and Rob at the doorstep when he first comes to the.
That was amazing.
That was such a good scene when because your face, your face when he, your face when he was like, "Can I talk to you first?" And she's like, "What's up?" I was like, "What he about to tell him? What is he about to tell him?" And I love that. I also love that you were intentional about, I want to ask for this credit. I'm gonna put this, I have the cachet to be like, I want this credit, but I'm gonna work for this credit. I'm gonna do this thing. Like as someone who produces a lot, you know, as a producer, you are the dean of students, you are the school nurse, you are you are the
Counselor.
Well,
principal.
you know,
You
with
are,
this crew, we had a lot of really, really good producers. So I just was trying to get in where I fit
you
in and
did it.
try to
No,
pick up
and
any kind
that's
of
great.
slack that you know maybe they couldn't. You know what I mean? Hey, can
But
I
that's
do
what I'm
this? Can I
saying.
do that?
As a producer, you have so many hats and you never know when you're going to need to wear what one. So having the intention to say, listen, I know I want to do this. And oh, you know, let me check like when does number one say, let me check crafty? Like when does like when did that happen unless it is an independent, not an indie that was 5 million and Scarlett Johansson did you a favor, an independent, you know what I mean? Like, so you never know, you don't on many high-end sets or you know, big sets see that. So I commend you for like jumping in and taking grasp of that because it reminds us that the hierarchy is there and we respect it, but also the work is the work and we do the work, right? For the
I
sake
have to
of
give credit there. I have to give credit to two people for that. I have to give credit to Brad Pitt because on Moneyball, he was a producer and he was an active producer. He was on set when he wasn't filming. He was making sure things were happening. He was introducing himself to people and he was wearing a completely different hat. Come here, baby. And then when I got my first number one, I called my buddy, also from Moneyball, Chris Pratt. Now, Chris and I were tight on the set of Moneyball. We shared a card in that movie. We actually both worked out for 3 weeks, hitting every day at USC because he had to learn how to hit, and I had to polish my left-handed swing. So it was me and him together for 3 weeks, you know, and we made a deal that we were going to watch each other because we knew that the producers and the director were going to be paying attention to Brad and Philip and Jonah. So we made a deal that we would look out for each other and make sure that we were doing, you know, good work. And when I told him I got my first number one, he said something that really stuck with me. And he said, remember, you're not just the lead in name, in the actor, you're a leader on that set. So, you know, do your best to make, you know, everybody feel at home and really be a leader. And so that's what made me really think about, like you said, being willing to put the number one aside and do things for the betterment of the project. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we all want the best project we can have. We all want to be, you know, seen in the best light. We all want to have the project be as powerful as it can be. So anything I could do to help make it that way, if I have to stay late or if I have to come early or if I have to come in on a day off, I'm going to do that. So, you know, I have to give credit to those two guys for you know, for showing me by example and then telling me also. You know, Brad did a great job of showing me by example, and Chris was a great friend to me by giving me that insight.
I love that. I love that. And a lot of people here are multi-hyphenates as well. So I know Rob, you are producing now or getting into the producing thing. Oh, hi. We have a visitor. Hello.
Hello, girl.
That's Charlie. Say hi,
Hi,
Charlie.
Charlie.
That's my daughter, Charlie.
She looks
Hello,
just
young lady.
that's definitely your daughter. I know that you have started in the producing space, Rob. Iyanna,
Yeah.
do you also have or have you been doing other things aside from acting, or are you aspiring to be a multi-hyphenate?
Yeah, I definitely want to get into producing and directing. So what I do now is like, as my parents are producing things, I'm watching behind the scenes and I'm learning how to like do things, seeing a lot of things they do wrong. So I'm like, oh, let me not do that. Do the things that they're doing right. So I'm like, lessons learned. So I definitely, honestly, I said this year I want to produce, even if it's just a short film, start off small, but that's one of my goals for sure.
I love it. I love it. Well, y'all heard it here first. Iyanna is open to producing a short film. That don't mean she's gonna produce yours, but shoot your shot. Robin, now you are getting into producing as well. How's that going for you? How's that feel?
Well, I mean, it's going great. I used to produce Carnival in Hollywood, which is a live show, Carnival, Caribbean Carnival. I'm Trinidadian and Bayesian. I'm actually going to Trinidad next weekend.
Vision and guidance. I'm here for it.
Yay, cheese on bread. So we that was my foray into producing. I have produced and directed a music video for Demetria McKinney. I've done the same for my own music videos, but this summer, because of downtime, I was able to produce and direct a pilot for a sitcom that I did with my brother and some comedian friends of his. Marshall Brandon, who opens for Dave Chappelle, Corey Fernandez, my brother Sugar Sean Riley, and myself. And it's hard work, you know, but it is when you get all those lessons from the Brad Pitts and Chris Pratts, and from my perspective, the James Earl Joneses and the Felicia Rashads and the Debbie Allens and the Terrence Howards and the Judith Lights and Dan Laurias, and then Kimberly Elise and Dean Cain and all of the various people that I've worked with. You put all those things together and you take out the bad, you keep all the good, like Iyanna said, and you do your best, and you realize how hard it is to try to produce something and how many fires there are burning at the same time, how many cold irons there are in the fire, so to speak, buns in the oven. And it humbles you, especially if you act in the project as well, which I did. It humbles you. It reminds you of how difficult it is, but it also reminds you of how much you love this business, because without the love and passion, there is no way that you can get through a project that you produce, especially if you funded it and directed it by yourself. There is no way you get to see the finish line without some long nights, some tired nights, maybe an argument or two. Somebody's going to have a breakdown. Somebody's going to be late. You might have to change locations. A permit might not get filed. All these different things that have to happen or that could happen, and you have to figure it out. And without the love and passion for what it is that we do as performers, it is impossible to complete. So that's one of the things I love about it. I'm going to do a hell of a lot more. We'll see what happens with this pilot called The Break Room, which is a comedy like Abbott Elementary and The Office. It takes place in an airport break room. So yeah, no, I'm excited. And like I said, it's not that I needed my love and passion to be rekindled, but it damn sure did that. And in the midst of a strike when perhaps it was necessary.
I love that. I love that. Well,
and don't worry, I got an exemption. I got an exemption from the union. Just wasn't scabbing. No scabs.
No. Independent projects were absolutely exempt. Trust me, yeah. I worked the whole strike.
I filed with the union. I got an exemption. I got my letter. Don't worry.
So I want to get into a couple of questions from the chat, because these people took their evening to come and check you guys out, and I want to make sure that we tap into a couple of things. Someone asked, what do you look for in a director, especially a young emerging director? Anyone can take it.
Steven?
That's a tough question, because the directors are usually set before I get there. You know what I mean? So I don't really have a say in or anything to look for in the director. I will say what I like about a director is a director that allows me to just play and isn't rigid and insistent upon what's on the page, because I don't necessarily stick to the page all the time. I like somebody like Peter Berg is an actor's director. because he used to be an actor before he was a director. So he understands the things that we as actors like, and the ways we like to get into our moments, and the playing and the improving and all of those things. So I like a director who allows me to spread my wings, and knows how to come tell me when things work and when they don't, and knows that I'm not going to take that personally if they don't work. You know, we're all, you know, in it together, and we, you know, we're striving for the same goal. So that's what I like in a director.
Nice. What about you, Iyanna?
My exact thoughts. When we can work together to create the character, and you're not super, I guess, by the book, I love that. And I'm still new and still figuring out what I love and all of that stuff. But I like when it's like a we can collaborate.
What about you, Rob?
I like when a director and I can laugh about when we both fucked up. And sorry, my
Little
bad.
ears.
My bad. When we're both wrong, I like when a director and I can laugh about when we're both wrong. Like, oh no, I think it needs to be done this way, and then you do it that way, and it's like, nope, never mind, my bad. I'm so sorry. You were completely right the last time. And we can laugh about it because we're creating art, and art needs mistakes and needs the latitude for mistakes. And when you get a director like that, that's a mutual trust between performer and director that I believe is very important and pivotal in creating art.
No, that's awesome. Bob Ross used to always call them happy accidents. And so when you have a director that leaves room for happy accidents, or being like, nah, that didn't work. It definitely.
I just took a Bob Ross painting class with my wife on Monday. It's crazy.
Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Have you ever booked a role but felt you couldn't connect well to the character? If so, how did you handle it?
I haven't had that experience myself. I don't think I would be auditioning for a role before I connected to it. And if I was offered a role that I didn't connect with, which I have been, I wouldn't take it. So I haven't been on a set where I'm having a problem connecting to my character.
Got you. Anybody else have a take on that?
Same.
So Shakira, if you are one of our members that are out here auditioning, the plan is don't take things that you know that you don't connect with, because it makes your job, the inauthenticity will shine.
Yeah, I realized it's power too, and like actually reading the scripts and the breakdowns and like doing the research to where it's like, oh, I don't think this is really going to be fit for me, so I'd rather just turn it down. And my agents are like super cool with that. They'd rather me do that than book it, and you know, now it's a whole issue.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. So am I.
Celestial said, what about a script makes you want to pursue the role? I know that roles come to you guys, you don't pursue them as much these days, I'm sure. But I guess to make it a little more, I guess, aligned is what about a role or what about a script makes you scream, I have to do this?
Well, for me, a lot of, like Rob said earlier, who else is involved with it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I see something come across my desk from my agent that I respect the actors that are already attached to it, that will cause me to go hard after it. You know what I mean? If I've wanted to work with this person for a long time, or if I've just recently seen them and they caught my eye, somebody that like that, just for example, Lakeith Stanfield.
Mm-hmm.
I love his work and I really want to work with him at some point. You know what I mean? So if I see something come across that he's attached to, I'm going to try everything I can to get involved with it.
Nice. What about you, Iyanna?
Same, and as well as just like the storyline too. Like I want to read something and be like, oh, they're not gonna guess this, or oh, this is even different for me. I like a challenge. So yeah, everybody involved, the storyline, the plot, like where it's shooting, like everything kind of like matters to me.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. It definitely matters who's attached, and that kind of gets you excited. But the role as well, like what are they requiring of me? Is it something I haven't done before? Is it something that challenges me? Is it something that I know I can do, but other people don't know I can do? For instance, So Fly Christmas, a lot of people didn't know that I could do comedy. And that was a rom-com. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, the hit the floor guy is funny, or the Dynasty, Michael Cohen. Well, I mean, if you watched all of Dynasty, you'd know it was funny, but the little things like that, there are things that you want personally that will matter in the roles that you choose, and that is okay, and they don't need to be universal. But the main things I think are what Iyanna and Steven said, which are who's attached, what the role is, and who's attached can also be the director and the writer or the producers.
Right. Nice. Shonda said, what, and I guess this is a universal question, what is your advice for up and coming actors, aspiring actors trying to break into the business today? Because it's a very different world today. When I started acting, there was no internet. So like there was no actors access to, you sit in people's offices and stalk people in real time. So what advice would you have for aspiring actors, up and coming actors today?
Iyanna, being the junior of everyone.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out myself, but basically I would say probably just to like keep going and be very like persistent, even just like no matter how many no's you do get, once you actually start auditioning, keep going, keep your tools sharp, like constantly stay in acting class if you feel like it's helping. Don't be scared to ask for help, whether it's coaching or your friends giving you advice, a mentor, whatever the case might be, but literally just keep going and figuring it out. And again, I'm still figuring it out as I'm like learning and working with different people.
We all are, girl. We all are.
I'm like, girl, me too.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
agree with
Steven.
that. I agree with that, and I also believe that everybody should try to be as authentic as possible in their own humanity. You know, don't try to be a robot. Don't try to be what you hear. Well, now we don't do as much going in the room and hearing other people auditioning in a room, but you know, make every audition or every role your own. Do what you can to stand out. Do what you can to be different. You know, I think that's what makes actors great, is where they have style that nobody else brings to the table. And, you know, I think that's a huge part of separating yourself in a forest of actors.
And to piggyback off of that, one of my coaches, Sarah Mornell, that's what she talks about all of the time too. So it's like, you want to stand out, but like bring yourself to it and just, like you said, be authentic. And I learned that from her, not being scared.
Your coach?
Sarah Mornell, yeah. Remember we were working on it and I told you that? Or you probably don't remember, but yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, she coached me as well for a while. Yeah, I love Sarah.
Right.
I mean, I would say the same thing in the interest of time. I will just agree with both of them, because that's exactly what I would say. The only thing I would do is tell you a story about when Felicia Rashad told me the exact same thing when I was on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And I had to do a put-in rehearsal for Terrence Howard wasn't there. And as an understudy, I was like, let me just not get fired. Let me just not get fired. This is my first big job out of graduate school. Let me just not get fired. And I did exactly what he would do during the show. And during the performance, all of the understudies played extras in the cast, the house servants in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And even though this was all black production, the servants were still black. So during the second act, Big Mama would come in and she would leave, and so would my character, Bridie, who would leave and bring the cake. And she told me she wanted to talk to me. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to get fired. And she brought me downstairs in her dressing room, and she told me a story about when she was in A Raisin in the Sun with Diddy, and Diddy was out, and his replacement went in, and his replacement threw a chair across the room. I don't advise you to throw chairs across the room. But everybody in the cast was like, holy the real actor dude is here. And she said, you never, ever, ever do that again. This is your role. This is your time. You put your stamp on it when you get your chance. So that speaks to what my castmates just said, is that be your authentic self and bring everything that you can to the role, and don't copy other people. Don't be a robot.
Something along those lines. An actor told me, acting is about humanity. Okay. And when you get hired for a role, it's because that person that hired you saw something in your humanity that made them think you were right for the role. So be authentic in your own humanity, because that's what got you there.
I love it. Well, I know that we do have one more question, which I really love. And I know that the beautiful Iyanna does have to depart us soon. So before we do that, I'm going to ask if everyone can stay muted, but come on camera so we can get a quick photo before we lose Miss Iyanna, because the hair is herring. She's doing the thing.
Yeah, I just got back from my birthday trip in Costa Rica, by the way.
Hey!
Costa Rica. It was on the 27th. So
happy belated.
Happy belated birthday. So if you can,
I was in Costa Rica last year.
Yes, if you can come on screen, We're gonna grab a quick picture before Iyanna has to go, so she can replenish herself before she gets back to all the good work. Everybody coming up. It's okay. We ain't asking you to be ready to be on camera. We just want you to be on this camera. It's posterity. We ready? All right, everybody else said no thank you. Okay, I'm about to take the picture, so if you coming on, come on. 5, 4, 3. Everybody smile. 2. Up. Somebody else came on. Anybody else coming? Last chance, last call. All right, y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it. One more. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm hoping it took, because my one more for safety. Come on, one more for safety. 1, 2, 3. I think I got it. All right. I know Iyanna has to go. Thank you so much, Iyanna. So while Iyanna's leaving, the last question we have for you is from Kilo. Kilo works with us here at the BTFC. He's an awesome creative in his own right. So Kilo, since you're up, you can ask your question yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. I kind of almost forgot it. Now I'm overwhelmed, but thank you so much. Shout out to Lehigh University. My brother went there. I love Bethlehem.
Hey!
I'm in a library, so someone's gonna come from my life real quick. Shout out to the Echo Park Library. But I wanted to know, what are the small steps you guys take every day to, to hone your craft as an actor, and to hone your craft as a business person? Just the smallest way that you get up out of the bed and the way that you celebrate that. I'm just trying to think of myself. I'm working on building creative consistent habits, and just making sure that I'm doing, this, even if it's the smallest, measure, that I'm still just taking the baby steps to keep the wheels running. So what does that look like for y'all? I don't know.
I try to exercise every morning, and that gets my blood going and inevitably makes me feel good about myself. The endorphins that are released during any type of exercise, people have heard of things like a runner's high and whatnot, are good for you as a mood setter for the day. I try not to get caught up in what everybody else is doing, and as far as accomplishments professionally that don't have anything to do with me, so that I'm not worried about that. And I stay in touch with my agents and managers, and I focus on my family, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. And I know Stephen would agree with me. I live with my wife. My 2 kids are in college, and it's me, her, and the dog, and we focus on taking care of each other and supporting each other. And my wife is my audition partner. She's a tax accountant. She's in tax season right now, and so I'm doing a lot of the cooking and taking care of business, just so that we share the load. So I think that's why we do this. It's show business. At the end of the day, we love doing it, but it is our job. It's how we chose to make money, how we present ourselves to the world and said, hey, whatever you'll give me for this is what I'll accept. And because of that, the goal of that is to take care of your family. So, as long as they're good, I'm good. And it puts another one of those batteries in my back that I was talking about that helps you push through the tough times.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better than that. It's exactly the same for me. I'm just constantly about my business. You know what I mean? It's every day, vacation or not, there's business being conducted. You know what I mean? I'm trying to keep several fires burning at the same time, because if you only have one stream of income, you're in a very precarious situation. So I try to have several things going, and I just tend to my business all day, every day, whenever I have to. It's just kind of a lifestyle at this point.
And when I say family, because if you're not married or with a partner or have children, family is, for a long time, my family was my very close friends who I traveled the world with and did business with. And many of them are still my close friends. And I have a different set of close friends now, or some additional ones here because I live in Atlanta, and that are businessmen and women, and we've started businesses together and been invested in things together. So there's different forms of family, but if the focus is on that, and as well as yourself, as opposed to all the outside noise, of which there is a lot of right now. There's a lot of it. And it's really hard because it's right there on your phone. As soon as you check that email, you get an alert from TikTok. You focus on the stuff that's right in front of you, which should be your friends and your family. And hopefully that can help you focus on what it is you need to do professionally.
Nice. Thank you, Kilo. Well,
And
gentlemen,
on that note,
thank you so much for just sharing with us tonight, for talking about the film. Before we leave you, if there's any sentiment that you want to share, or anything you want to leave with our audience as they continue to, press towards their dreams, the myriad of dreams that they have, that we all have, please feel free to share before we head out.
Just tell the story, baby. The story is the most important thing that matters. Just tell the story.
Yep, stick around, hang around. You'll get there eventually. Just don't give up. You got to hang around. You have to, be able to deal with the rejection, because it happens more than it doesn't. And that was one of the things that baseball did for me as a hitter. If you're great, you're going to fail 70% of the time. So, be ready to deal with it. Don't take it personally. And just continue to strive to do your best work. You got to find the wins in the losses. Those rejections could seem like losses, but if you find the win in that, meaning I went into the room, I did excellent work, I win. Even if I don't get the job, I win, because they saw me do excellent work in that room. They may have gone a different way. They may have hired an Asian guy. Who knows? But they remember if you go in there and you do good work. So find your wins and your losses, and have a strong stomach, and stick around.
Nice. Well, cheers to the both of you. You've had such long careers, done such amazing work. We are so excited to see what's next in all fronts. And we hope that you'll keep in touch with us here at the BTFC. We always like to make sure that we know who's up next, even if they are now, and what's going on and what's coming. We absolutely will continue to watch and support as you make your work. Everybody, thank you so much for coming out tonight, for checking us out here at the virtual panel for BET Plus's One Night Stay. Thank you for your questions, your attention, for hanging out with us. And please make sure that you are in touch with the BTFC. If you have work that you are trying to make, we have things coming up. This, real quick before we go, this coming February 5th, we know Black History Month starts tomorrow, even though it's every day, but it starts officially tomorrow. And so we want to remind you that on the 5th, if you are in New York City, we have an in-person download happening talking about Black's in sci-fi and the diaspora. It is going to be at Ludlow House. It's going to be super dope. You can RSVP for it on our Eventbrite. You should have gotten it in the newsletter. If you need it, let us know. And we will have, for those that are not in New York, there will be a virtual download, which is going to be great. We have a showrunner coming talking about all of her projects. And so please make sure you stay in touch, get your newsletters, make sure you are signed up on the the Black TV Film Collective.org page. And we are so excited to continue to support you, help you, educate you, and resource you so that you can make your work. Thank you again for Rob and Stephen and Kilo, Will Chat, and everybody
Bye,
else.
Charlie.
Bye,
Charlie.
Charlie. Thank you to our special guest tonight, Charlie. Bye, Charlie. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Later.